Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Let's see who we have there. Okay. Oh, yeah, I recognize some names.
Awesome.
We're getting some more, so maybe let's wait a couple more minutes, Sarah,
Yeah,
Stella, if you don't mind.
yeah, of course. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. What do you think we're gonna start it now? No, you're good.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ted Claviton. I'm a dermatologist based in Calgary, Alberta, and I have the honor of being the chair of the Awards and Membership Committee. And so we spent a lot of time on the committee discussing how can we enhance member value, what tools can we provide that would be of benefit to our members. And we spent a lot of time, and Sarah can attest to this, she's on the call, just discussing what is happening in the AI space. Like, what have we tested? What have we tried as a team? And what discounts, what tools can we offer to our members to let them spend more time with their families in their homes and not charting? And so after we discussed our experiences with various technologies, we chose Heidi as a team to collaborate with. And that was both due to their service level, but also really good product offering and their willingness to collaborate with us and bring some dermatology specific tools on board. And so before we start the webinar, I just wanted to remind everyone that as a CDA member benefit, you can save that 10% off on the Pro and Together plans, as well as all residents benefit from free access. So I'll let Stella take it away.
Thanks so much. So yeah, lovely to meet everyone. So I'm part of the go-to-market team here at Heidi in Canada. So yeah, today I'm just gonna do like a brief run through of obviously what Heidi is, but yeah, super excited to work with CDA on this. So yeah, I'm gonna share my screen from here so you guys can see. Just give me 1 second to set this up. Yeah, and also for context, so we have been talking to some dermatologists. So I'm not a dermatologist myself, but I've been working with a lot of dermatology groups and also dermatologists. So this is kind of my best take on how to best use Heidi for your dermatology workflow. So I'm going to share my screen here. Awesome. Yeah, so this webinar is obviously going to be focused on Heidi and dermatology. So I'm just gonna jump into it. So in terms of agenda for today, we're first just gonna do like a warm welcome and then go into what is Heidi, how to access Heidi. I'll do like a brief 10 to 20 minute demo, and you guys can feel free to ask any questions in the chat in the meantime. And then wrapping up with some just like reminders on templates, resource center, and where you can find support. So first, maybe to just briefly introduce Heidi to everyone. So we are the AI Scribe of choice for medical specialists in Canada. So we do about 2 million sessions per month in Canada, but globally we do about 2 million consults per week. So we're the largest AI global scribe. We have about 120,000 clinicians using us globally. And you can see this is some of the system and specialty groups we work with here in Canada and the US. Awesome. And to maybe give a brief overview of Heidi's impact. So Obviously, the goal of an AI scribe is to do the documentation for you. Obviously, you still have to do the review, but it's to save a lot of that documentation and administrative burden. So then you can get your time back. You can also, have more presence with your patient. And sometimes they even help you just build more comprehensive notes. And you can see a lot of our users also report like less burnout and higher job satisfaction. So yeah, this is kind of like the suite of benefits, and I kind of wanted to start with that to introduce Heidi on a good note. So yeah, what is Heidi? So Heidi is designed to be super intuitive. There are 3 steps to like the basic workflow. So first, you just start transcribing on your computer or your phone, and Heidi is gonna start capturing your consultation. So Heidi actually doesn't do any kind of recording. It's just gonna do a live transcription of your session in text. Then you get to choose from different note templates. So for dermatologists, obviously we have a suite of dermatology templates, but you have like the full freedom to customize the templates as you see fit, because we want to make sure that the template sounds exactly like how you would write a note. Because obviously every doctors we work with, work pretty differently in terms of how they take their notes and do their documentation. So we want to make sure our tool is flexible enough to support that. And then after that, you can ask Heidi to create anything you might need next. So this could be letters or patient summaries or treatment plan. And obviously in the demo, I'm gonna kind of cover this in more details, but just to introduce you guys. A quick note on data and security, because obviously this is one of the most important thing that gets asked. So we're a compliance first company, and that means like we understand the privileges of handling sensitive personal information. So we're PIPEDA compliant, our data is locally hosted, and we're also certified under ISO 27K, ISO 9000, and then SOC 2 Type 2. So these are kind of cybersecurity certificate to ensure that your data is secure and safe. All data is going to be de-identified and stored safely in Canadian servers. So these are located in Quebec. And then once it's deleted, it's not recoverable. So to talk a little bit about like, just how we handle your data as well. So no patient data is used for any model training or secondary use. And the note is going to stay on Heidi for as long as you want. But once you delete it, it's going to be completely erased. Although you can also set up automatic deletion if you want. So then Heidi can delete that notes automatically for you on a recurring basis. If you want to, learn more about our safety and compliance, you can visit our safety center here at heidihealth.com/safety. Okay, now to talk about, accessing Heidi. So I saw Lisa's question, so I'm just going to answer it very quickly. So yeah, the session will be recorded and it will be available kind of on the CDA website or like the landing page that we put together. So yeah, you'll have access to this webinar. So in terms of getting started with Heidi, there are 3 main ways to access Heidi. So first, you can use your mobile app or your tablet. So we do have a completely, functional mobile app that you can download from your iOS or Android app store. You can also just type in HeidiHealth.com and then access Heidi from any device that you want. So this is obviously going to be a browser-based platform, and then you can access it wherever you want, whether it's on your phone or on your laptop. And then we also have a desktop app built out for people to do telehealth sessions, especially when they're wearing headphones. So we usually recommend if you're doing a lot of virtual visit, then you can download the desktop app. So it will ensure that the audio is connected on both ends. And it's going to capture all that audio from both sides. Yeah, and you can download it here in the link. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the demo. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a sec and switch over to my Heidi app. So here you go. So yeah, you can see right now I'm just using it on Chrome. So yeah, to get started, it's really easy. You go to Chrome, you log in, and then this is the page that you're going to see. So first to talk about the interface a little bit. It's pretty intuitive. You have, your sidebar here. You have all your pause sessions listed here, And here is your session window. So every time you open a new session, you're going to see that a new session window is going to pop up. So for instance, here, you can see once I hit new session, here is a new session window. You can add in patient details if you want. So for instance, if you want to create a patient profile, you can do that. You can also change the language. So obviously we support French, but we also have like over 100 other languages that we support, some of which are in beta. And the difference between input and output language here is just that the input language is going to be the language you use to conduct the session. And you can select multiple if you're doing like multilingual sessions. So you can select English and French here, for instance. And for output, this is going to be what the language of your notes and documents are going to be in. So you can adjust that freely as you want to. And then whenever you're ready and you check that your audio is working, you can just hit start transcribing. Here it's gonna show a pop-up for you to get patient consent. So patient consent is quite important, and you can do it in a few ways. So first, we have consent forms that you can, send to patient during the intake process, or you can just get verbal consent from the patient before the session starts. And here we have a prompt that you can use to do the patient consent. So once you get the consent, you're gonna see that the timer is gonna start, and then I can double check that my audio is working as well. And that just means it's starting to transcribe my session. In here, I'm going to talk through these 3 tabs very briefly. So if I go to transcript, this is going to be, you can see it's coming out with live transcription, but this is just going to be the session transcript. In a context tab here, you can put in any additional context about the patient. So maybe, for instance, let's say this is an intake session and you want to pull in some, context about the patient when they filled out the form. You can write down, pull in any reports or labs even. You can also type it in like a patient looks distressed, like you can type in any additional thing you want that you noted during the session. And then here you can also link past sessions and link attachments if you want. So basically any format of context, we will support you to input it into the platform. And then the notes tab are obviously going to be, what your note is going to look like. So here you can see it will prompt you to select the template. And here on top, you'll see some of the dermatology templates that's in my template library. So a template on Heidi essentially guides how your note is going to be structured and the content that goes in your note. So generally for a dermatologist, they might start out using Heidi just trying out like a dermatology note, which is going to be one of our default Heidi note. But as you get more, used to Heidi, you might create like a new patient consult, a follow-up template, a procedure note. But I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so I'm just gonna kind of start simple and maybe go to a past session to show you guys how to add a template. So here I'm just gonna stop transcribing, and you'll see that if I didn't pre-select a template, here I can also select, it will kind of remind me to select a template. And once that's done, you'll see that the note is going to start processing, and then it's going to stream out the output based on the patient encounter I just had. So you'll see that obviously I didn't discuss any, clinically relevant information. So everything is just left empty. But if I go to the session that I prepared for this demo, so this is just like a brief session on atopic dermatitis. So I selected the new patient consult template, and this is the output that is streamed out. So this might look more similar to how you would write your note. And after the note is done, there's a few changes you can make. So obviously you can just make any changes directly. If it's like a stylistic issue that you're seeing, like the note is too short or like you don't want it to be abbreviated, you can customize the style here by going to custom. And you can see here, I can adjust the level of details. I can, get rid of abbreviations. And let's say I don't want any quotes. So, and once I click out of it, you'll see that the note is going to update based on the style that I just updated. So you'll see that the abbreviations are gone. Yeah. So after your note is done, you can create any kind of downstream documentation as well. So say in this session, I said I'm gonna write a patient education letter about eczema care. I can hit create here on the top right. And what it's gonna do is here I can generate an eczema care patient education handout, and it'll auto-generate that document for me, combining with the session context. So yeah, right now the bullet point formatting is a bit weird, but like in the ideal world, okay, you can see it fixes itself. So yeah, this is like a patient education letter that Heidi automatically generated. So what I just did here, I know I did it a little quick, so I'm gonna run through it again. So when you're ready to start creating like downstream documentation, you just go to the create here, create button here on the top right. And here on the top, it will auto-suggest documents based on what happened in the session. So for instance, in the session I mentioned, I'll write you a patient education handout, and you can see here that it surfaced that automatically. But I can also create my document template so that it really follows my structure of how things are done. So I won't go into the weed of it because I pretty much just went through how you would, start a patient consult, select the note template, and also do like a downstream documentation. So now I'm actually gonna talk a bit more about how to personalize your templates because that's where most people get stuck because after they create a note, they might want to customize it so it looks a bit more like them. So on that note, I'm gonna just open up the template so you guys can see what a Heidi template looks like on the back end. You can always toggle the helper here if you just need to double check like what a template means. I know it might looks a little overwhelming, but it's actually really simple. There are just two main components to a template. So first is a placeholder. And you can see these are the square bracket that you see. So maybe under reasons for consultation, you'll see that I asked it to include a brief description of patient's main dermatological concern or presenting issue. So the placeholder is essentially the medical information you want Heidi to pull in. So you'll wrap that in the square brackets to pull that information in from the session. So you can see under HPI, I have, onset, duration, progression of symptoms, associated symptoms, previous treatment. So these are all the information that you want under this section. And for the stylistic instruction, so these are the these are the round brackets that you see after the square brackets. So these are stylistic preferences that you might have on how you want your note to be written. So for instance, here at the beginning, I might want like a summary, including next steps in 2 to 3 sentences, just as a primer for me to remember what this consult was about. But I can also, for HBI, say, write this HPC section in narrative format using full sentences, no bullet point. So yeah, these are like customization I can make. So you can see here, I've included a placeholder telling it to include a summary. And under HPC, I told it to write it in a narrative format. So these are stylistic instructions. So you can think of the placeholder, so the square brackets as the what of the template, and then the round brackets as the how of the template. Yep, so you can see basically for every section, you can do your own adjustment based on the output. And once I save and use this, it's gonna automatically, create a new document to reflect the changes that I just made to the template. So that's essentially how you can personalize your templates. And we have a lot of resources on how to personalize templates. So don't worry if that was a lot of information, you can always reference back. So you can see here, I have a summary, and then now the history of presenting complaints is in full sentences. And you can see the rest of the template still looks good. Yep, so that's how you can personalize your templates. And a brief note on personalization is also, like date settings or like how you want your macros. So there's another personalization component besides a template, and that's in your settings. You can go to memory, and here you can kind of replace any common abbreviations or alternative spelling of words you use on Heidi. So maybe instead of millimeter, you do millimeter. And then you can also create snippets just like how you would do for macros on your EMRs. So for instance, here I can do like a full skin check, normal snippet, and then in my session, if I just want to dictate that, I can do that as well. But this is just, additional tools for you to use. Generally, we think the template can solve most of these issues here. Okay. So yeah, I think that was basically a full workflow on Heidi, using an example like intake consult. So now I'm just going to talk about a few more use cases that you can use Heidi for in your dermatology workflow. So maybe after your intake, you have a follow-up note and you want to pull in the context from the previous session. So how you can do that is, so I already have a transcript here. So in a context here, I can select so to do that, I first need to go back and create a patient profile. So here I'm gonna create a new patient called Jessica. And then in here, I'm just gonna select Jessica. And now I know that it's a follow-up session and I can toggle here to see all the past sessions I've done with Jessica. So here, if I want the session to be included as context in my follow-up note, I'll just click here and you'll see that I'll be able to sync my note essentially. So I'm just gonna regenerate here. So now I'm using a chronic condition follow-up template to this eczema consult. And you can see that it should pull in all the, interval history, and what happened in the last session. So this is how you would pull in context for a follow-up. I'm gonna go to the Q&A page very quickly just to see the question. So Brittany asked, after you create your note, do you copy and paste it into your EMR? We use Acuro, or will Heidi eventually be incorporated into EMR software? So how we're doing integration right now is with Acuro, we're still in beta, but we're gonna fully launch it in mid-September. So yeah, stay tuned for the Acuro integration. How it's gonna work is that after Acuro is integrated, so we're already integrated, but after it's launched to the public, you'll be able to go to Acuro and open up Heidi from Acuro. So then you can just hit push note and then it's gonna push to the patient profile in Acuro. So that's our integration with Acuro EMR. So yeah, that's going to be announced in mid-September. And after the announcement, we're going to release more videos kind of talking through how to combine the two. So yeah, I just kind of gave a primer of how it's going to look like. So yeah, stay tuned. And here, lastly, I'm just going to show like a procedure session. So maybe using like a dictation here. Okay, just give me one sec. So I'm just gonna kind of dictate the procedure I'm having with this patient. So Mr. Daniel Lee, 46-year-old male, seen for a pigmented lesion on the right posterior shoulder. Lesion present for 8 months, darker and slightly larger over past 6 months. No pain, bleeding, or prior skin cancers. Family history, melanoma in father. Exam, 6 mm irregular pigmented macule. Variegated color, no ulceration, no lymphadenopathy, impression suspicious, pigmented lesion. After consult, area prepped and anesthetized with 1% lidocaine with epinephrine. Lesion removed via shave biopsy, hemostasis achieved with aluminum chloride. Dressing applied, no complications. Post-procedure wound care reviewed, pathology pending, results in 7 to 10 days. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop transcribing here. So yeah, one use case you can do with Heidi is also just dictate whatever, and it's still gonna put it in the right template and then have it in a template format. So maybe for this, I'll just go to my procedure note template and you can see how it's gonna stream out. So I did do a dictation, but this is actually gonna transform my dictation into a structured note. yeah, so you can see here, this is my procedure note template, and it has all these relevant sections. Okay, yeah, so that was just me illustrating the different use cases. The last thing I'll mention is just you'll see that the task tab kept coming up. So that's actually in beta right now. It'll just remind you of the different tasks you have to do. So for instance, send specimen to pathology and then review pathology result. You can also rely on Heidi for some of your coding. So for instance, here I have a review code tab and I've added so I know a lot of people would still use ICD-9 here in Canada, but right now we only have ICD-10. I think ICD-9 will also be available soon. But what it's doing here is it's ranking the different codes in relevance based on what's discussed in the session. So you can see here, you can see the high relevance one, medium relevance one, and low relevance ones. So here, if you actually just click on that, it will give you the evidence of why it suggested this to be high relevance. So this can be a useful tool for some people to just identify the codes. Yeah, just thought I'd note that as well. Okay, awesome. I think that captures most of what you would do on Heidi. If you're having difficulty with templates, if you go to our template library, you can actually see all the templates in my library right now. But whenever you create a template, you'll also be able to, there's a few ways to create a template. So you can kind of guide through it, similar to how you would ask ChatGPT to do a template. So you can say like, create an issues list template with ICD-10 code. You can say, do a full skin examination with physical exam normal as this format. And you can say with the, HPC section in paragraph form, and also include this section. So you can be super specific, and then Heidi is going to auto-generate a template for you so you don't have to write it from scratch. One thing you can do as well is you can upload your existing note, and then it's going to, auto-generate a template based on your existing note. Or you can start from scratch if you're really familiar and confident with how a template works. One last resource I'll reference is our template community. So this is where you can see a lot of the templates that are done by our super users on Heidi who wanted to share their templates with the wider, Heidi community. So here, if I go to dermatology, you'll be able to see some templates here. There's not a lot because we kind of have a backlog of templates that's pending review. But right now we have a few, also one from a Canadian dermatologist. So this is for a full skin examination. And you can see in here, you can see the example note output and also the template structure. So these are generally a good way for people to find inspiration and learn from how other people write their template. But you can also just steal their template directly by adding it to your library. And you'll see that right now it's surfaced in my template library, and I can go and make some edits as well so that it's more personalized to me. So yeah, that's essentially Heidi. Definitely let me know in Q&A if you have any questions. I think I see a few more, so I'm just gonna run through that. So the Accuro pricing structure right now, we're still finalizing. So you'll have to stay tuned for how the structure is gonna look like. But yeah, we're releasing it in a month, so it should be super soon. Awesome. So I'm gonna stop sharing here and go back to my slides. Just give me 1 second. So we just did the demo. Next, I'm just gonna, do a few reminders of what templates are and share some resources that you can rely on. So to summarize, templates are what keep your note structured, consistent, and also tailored to how you write your note. So there's two things that I talked about. So one is placeholder, the other is the round brackets instruction. So placeholders are for medical information you want to fill in. The round brackets are for stylistic instructions to Heidi on how to write it. You can build templates from the template library in Heidi, where you can either throw in a prompt, throw in an existing note, or you can start from scratch. But we also, obviously, not a primary care page, but in the landing page we have with CDA, we have some resources on templates that are dermatology specific that we've compiled for the team. And you can always go to the community to see examples of other people's template. And here is our resource center. So the link to the resource center is, listed here. But this is where you'll be able to find some resources on, explaining what Heidi is to patient, but also to clinicians. And you can also find our example consent form that you can use to collect consent from your patients. So these are typically integrated into the intake process for the clinicians. If you're comfortable with just verbal consent, then you can totally do that as well. But these are pretty good resources for you to, start off using Heidi. Yep, so that's actually everything in this slide. I think one last thing I'll show you guys is just the landing page we put together for the CDA team in case you haven't seen it. So yeah, let me just go to this website here. Cool, so I'm gonna share my screen. So yeah, this is a website we put together for this collaboration with Canadian Dermatology Association. So you can see information on compliance, some dermatology templates, and also resources and support. So here we've outlined the benefits for CDA members. The discount code is going to be in your CDA portal. So once you log in, you'll be able to see them. And obviously we have our webinar today listed here. If you go to the template section, you'll be able to see some examples. But as we get more, because we actually are doing like our medical knowledge team, which are a team of doctors at Heidi, are putting together a big list of, really good templates for all the specialties that, Heidi user are part of. So that's going to be uploaded as those template resources come out. And I'm actually also meeting with more CDA dermatologists to, talk through how they've been using Heidi. And hopefully in the future, we'll also be able to host more sessions like this where we'll invite real dermatologists to share their workflow, which is definitely better than just me talking through how you can potentially use Heidi. And yeah, I see a few more questions. So I think right now the time is just going to be mainly reserved for the Q&A. So yeah, if you're, trying to get to dinner, feel free to leave. But if you have questions, or if you want to listen to other people's questions and answers, then you can stay here for a bit longer. So you can see here, yeah, so the discount is going to be available for just indefinitely as of now. So yeah, you'll receive the discount even after it's launched. So it's still going to be on the CDA website in September. And then in terms of the differences between the tiers, I'm going to share this so you can see the differences. So on Heidi, we have 3 different tiers, and Enterprise is its own tier, so we don't include that in our general materials, but I'm just showing it here for everyone's information. So a lot of people that discover Heidi actually started off in the free tier, and this is what we offer just for everyone across the world. So under free tier, you get unlimited transcripts. So essentially, you'll be able to transcribe the session. You'll be able to do like basic soap notes with the session as well, which can be pretty helpful for some people. And you can also use our dictation because Heidi's dictation is like generally smarter than Dragon or other dictation tools on the market. The only thing you're limited by is the templates, customization, and also anything you might want to use the Ask AI for. So generating downstream documents or retrieving information from the session. So the 10 pro actions listed here is really just anything from creating a pro template to using a custom template. So yeah, the template community templates, for instance, will be a pro template. So then every time you use that or you create that, it's going to cost an action. So under Pro, you will have access to unlimited custom templates. So any templates we post or you customize are going to be available to you forever. And I think usually the real time saving, like a lot of people start off free, they'll try it out for a while, and then they'll kind of realize, oh, I actually really want my template customized. So that's when they, try out Pro. So yeah, I think under CDA, like we still have like a 2-week trial to the pro version. So you can definitely start exploring pro and just try it out before you apply the discount code. And then we also have a together tier. So this is completely separate from pro and free. And this actually, you guys also get 10% off on, for together. So under together, this is more a team tier. So pro is generally for individual providers, but under together, you get a suite of team features, and it's listed all here. But maybe to summarize, so first biggest bucket of benefits you get under together is going to be support. So you'll have a dedicated customer success manager for any kind of training and onboarding. You'll also get, so any templates you want to build, you can just send it to our medical knowledge team. So the customer success manager is obviously going to manage that. But you can send them all to us, and then we'll be able to kind of create a Heidi template. So it kind of saves you the template creation effort. And then the second biggest buckets are just like the different team collaboration features. So you can share templates, you can share sessions, and you can also have, different level of administrators that can actually be part of your team for free. So let's say you have a medical assistant who's actually not doing any session, but they're just gonna, transfer some notes over, but they can have their own account to help with some of that downstream document. So maybe they can, after you finish your session, generate a patient education handout. So that's when you might want like the team feature. So then you can have a free admin seat to help you transfer those accounts. But yeah, that's kind of the 3 main tiers. I hope that was helpful. Okay, and then someone else asked like the CA discount, whether that's going to be applied to the Curo version. So yeah, so the integration is really just like on top of the existing Heidi feature. So CDA discount can still be applied to the version. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing here. Yeah, so I think if there's no questions coming in, I'm obviously still gonna wait a few minutes online to see if any questions come through. Yeah, so for the together option, there also is a 2-week trial that you can hop on, see if it's valuable. And then after the trial, if you think, it's not worth the extra 500, then you can switch back to pro for sure. So the trial is also there for you to experiment with it and see all the different team features and try it out. I see a questions on by Maxwell on if you have a medical assistant do pre-charting, can they record on a different device? And then MD comes in on another device, then do they encounter? Yeah, so because of like health information sharing, how we're doing these kind of thing is the medical assistant, for instance, can dictate into the context of the MD session. So how it's going to look like is the medical assistant log into their account. So it's going to be like an assistant account. And then they can go into the MD session and then they can, for instance, schedule a session. They can put in stuff in the context. So for instance, you can't record on the MD's account because we don't want that health information to be messed up. So how it's going to look like is you can either dictate into context or you can transcribe it on your own and then copy the content, copy either the transcript or the note from the pre-charting into the MD's context. So that's how you would integrate it. Right now, we're not able to let's say you hit transcribe on the MD's account because every time you resume a session, the note is going to be updated. And sometimes because we want to make sure that the doctor are in full control of their note. So that's why that's kind of like a workaround. So 2 options to summarize. One is to dictate into context of the MD's account. The other is to transcribe it on your own account. and then transfer the note over to the MD's context. Yeah, so for that team administrator setup, you would need a together account. But in this case, let's say you're only working with one doctor, then it would just be $12.99 for the two people. And maybe there's also another like front desk person, it will still stay $12.99, even with that added person, because it's still gonna be like a admin instead of a clinician. I'm just gonna wait here. But if you're ready to get on with your day, feel free to hop off. It was super lovely to meet everyone here, even though I can't see your. But yeah, I'm gonna actually work with Maureen from our team to, keep the partnerships going and host more content like this one. So then you guys can learn from like a real dermatologist, and also showcase some of our biggest stores in Canada as well. So thank you very much. Awesome. Okay, I think I don't see any questions, so thank you very much for coming. Oh, okay, I see one more question. You can turn on the pop-up for the patient consent. So it's in your settings, you can toggle it on and off. So I'll actually show you where that is while I have you. Let me just log into my Heidi account real quick and share my screen here. So here under settings, I'll actually walk through it a little bit, but I'll show you where you can find that. I think it should be under, sorry, I actually need to scroll through this. So memory, you have display control. So this is where you can toggle it off if you want to. But yeah, it's available under all tiers because we want to encourage like the patient consent side of things. So you can turn it on and off under all tiers. And yeah, you can also see the automatic deletion setting here. So you can schedule session to delete on a recurring basis anywhere from 1 to 90 days. So once you turn that on, it will kind of ask you like delete after 7 days. And you can dial it up if you want to. So I'm gonna turn it off. And here, obviously, there are some like more default setting you can set up. So I have it as Canadian English. You can refer to the patient as client always. And yeah, you can also generate your post-session default and session default. Yep, so that's pretty much. And then obviously under team setting. So right now I'm on pro, so I'm not, you can see I don't have access to the team-wide features. But once you're upgraded into the together tier, you'll be able to, for instance, view sessions. You can set up deletion schedules for your entire team as well. And yeah, you can require patient consent for everyone too. Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna hang around, but yeah, again, thanks everyone for coming.
Stella, it's Ted here. The one thing I would probably mention during the next webinar that I found really helpful is because I speak multiple languages and I conduct my visits in multiple languages, sometimes it's really helpful that it captures it, say, in Ukrainian or Russian and actually translates the consult note into English. And it's incredibly accurate. So that helped my medical staff tremendously because sometimes they don't speak the language that I speak. So for them to see that note in detail has saved so much time in my clinic. So that was a really cool feature. And I say this because when I look at the attendee list that we had, a lot of them I know use multiple languages in their practice. So that would be it's a really cool feature, I think.
Thanks for that insights. Yeah, I think multilingual, a lot of people really sing praises about it because I think it's definitely important, especially in Canada, to have that multilingual capabilities. So yeah. And I do see one more question about using it for OR note. So yeah, I don't have an operative like report template on my Heidi library, but I think the procedure note will probably look somewhat similar to that. So then you can essentially have a template for that. And if you prefer to dictate, you can kind of do what I did when I just dictated into Heidi for my procedure note. And then it's gonna still stream it out in the kind of procedure note format that I prefer. Or you can also use, Heidi's memory for like closure languages, for instance, but you should be able to also predefine that, in a Heidi template. So for instance, like I'm just looking at an example here, like wound edges are approximated with, and you can have a square brackets for a suture type. And then in like another placeholder saying like layered or a simple interrupted fashion, ensuring inversion. So yeah, you can kind of play around with that. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure how helpful that tip is. But obviously after like, your main operative note, you can also have post-op care instructions if you want to. But yeah, I think maybe I'm not the best person to ask, so I'll definitely try to bring on some more dermatologists for our upcoming webinars. And I think it's actually really great that you asked that question because I think what we've seen most dermatologists use is just like for their, intake or maybe follow-up note. But we haven't seen a lot of like more creative use cases. And I think as our feature sets get better, it will also be easier because it actually fit into the clinician's workflow. I think especially with the Curo integration, it's going to help a ton for a lot of people. So yeah, we're also super excited about that. I think it definitely makes sense for us to, after the Curo integration is announced, to host another session like this, where we can share how you can use Heidi in a Curo for dermatologists. So yeah, and then for that, we'll definitely try. I think as more people get onto Heidi, we'll also invite some of our clinicians to join us here. Cool. I think maybe we can wrap up here because I'm not seeing any more questions coming in, and I think a lot of people have also left. So do you think it's a good time to wrap up? Okay. Yeah, I think I'll just wrap it up because I know everyone's probably busy and it's also a Thursday night, so I'll keep it short since I don't see any questions. So thanks so much everyone for coming to this webinar. Really enjoyed talking to all of you, and thanks for the questions and the Q&A as well. Yeah, and then I guess I'll kind of circle back with the team and then see how you guys go. But yeah, definitely share any feedback to us so we can also learn from your experience. And if at any point you want to reach out to us to, just ask questions or, ask us to share more tips, you can also contact our support team or contact me to get that help. So yeah, we'll leave it here. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.